United Nations Secretary General has officially withdrawn his invitation for Iran to attend those talks less than 24 hours after his initial offer. Ban Ki-moon's original request angered the United States, concerned that Iran will not live up to its promises to help create a new government in Syria. CCTV's Nick Harper is live for us at UN headquarters in New York. Nick.
Well, yes, a turbulent 24 hours here at the United Nations that has seen a complete U-turn by the Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon. First, he started off by inviting Iran to the peace talks, and then just a few hours ago, he withdrew that invitation. This time yesterday, he was in the firing line of the US government and the Syrian opposition, both of who criticized his decision to invite Iran. And it looked as if the peace talks that had taken months to plan were beginning to unravel before they'd even begun. The showdown started on Sunday evening, when United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon said he'd invited 10 additional countries to the peace talks, and one of them was Iran.
As I have said repeatedly, I believe strongly that Iran needs to be part of the solution to the Syrian crisis.
The Secretary-General said he'd been given assurances from senior Iranian officials Iran would support the main aim of the Geneva II talks, namely to set up a new transitional government, a condition that was laid out in the Geneva I agreement. But the US State Department was not convinced and blasted the Secretary-General's decision to invite Iran, saying in a statement, "We remain deeply concerned about Iran's contributions to the Assad regime's brutal campaign against its own people. If Iran does not fully and publicly accept the Geneva communique, the invitation must be rescinded." So with the US urging the UN to uninvite Iran and key members of the Syrian opposition threatening to pull out, the Secretary-General was said to be, quote, urgently considering his options. But Iran's permanent mission to the UN helped him to make up his mind by proving the United States right. Issuing a statement, it made it clear Iran would not attend if it had to help set up a new Syrian government, saying if the participation of Iran is conditioned to accept Geneva I communique, Iran will not participate in Geneva II conference. That effectively cleared the way for the Secretary-General to withdraw his invitation, his spokesperson announcing the news.
He has decided that the one-day Montreux gathering will proceed without Iran's participation.
Well, the Iranians created a very neat get-out clause for Ban Ki-moon because they said very publicly that they weren't going to hold up their end of the bargain. He was able to withdraw his invitation. And that also resolved his conflict with the US government and meant that the Syrian opposition's attendance at the talks was once again assured. So tonight the storm seems to have passed. Ban Ki-moon will be very relieved that the peace talks seem to once again be back on track. But it is very embarrassing for him, the fact that the Iranians very publicly came out and contradicted him. So he'll be hoping, as he leaves for Switzerland for these peace talks, that he'll be able to get beyond this, that the peace talks can focus on Syria and its future rather than having to worry about who's on the guest list.
Well, Nick, what has been the U.S. reaction been to the withdrawal of Iran's invitation to those talks?
Well, they put out a statement shortly after Ban Ki-moon withdrew that invitation, and while they didn't say that they welcomed his decision, it was very clear in their rather short statement that they were happy with his decision, and they pointed out that they hoped that these peace talks now could focus very much on Syria and its future, its political transition, without having to worry about any outside influence from any party or any countries who perhaps weren't willing to fully contribute and support a transitional government.
All right, CCTV's Nick Harper live at UN headquarters in New York.